Hello and welcome to this episode of The Circle. Haven't done these in a little while. Trying to figure out how I wanted to go about this. Usually I do a blog post, but I haven't turned off the computer, but I am off the computer for the night and I need to get to bed. And my blog site, some of you might have noticed, is not always up, so I thought this would be the best way to go about doing this. In this episode, I would like to talk to you about manifestation, or otherwise known in the olden times as demonstration. And what we're talking about here is when you pray for something, that's one way that they call it. Another way is when you have an affirmation towards something. It's when you're trying to seek something that you want to manifest it in your life. And I want to talk about some of the nuances there that I have just learned about in this book here. I'm just hitting this chapter here on the law of karma and the law of forgiveness, and it's the first time I've struggled reading it through and trying to understand what she means, because she says, if you try to will it, if you go by sheer will, you'll probably get what you want, obviously, but if you go by sheer will, it will not be in harmony with, she calls it divine intelligence, I would call it the source. She does speak a little bit old-fashioned, but is a very excellent writer. And I'm learning a lot out of the book. And I was thinking about, like, brushing my teeth downstairs. What are the nuances? What do they mean? How do I figure this out? And here's what I've come to the conclusion on. I've recently created some affirmations, and I've made bookmarks out of them, like this one right here. And you'll find those on my Twitter page. You can download them, and there's a page. I got another one I should probably put up there. It's in my Dropbox. There's a link there, but one of them that I have is, I am enjoying the company of the one sharing her life with me. And every time I say this affirmation, I am just filled with I don't know how to explain the emotion. It's a euphoria, it's an emotion that's really, it's positive, but it's not just positive, it's more than that. It just is warmth inside. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. It's a very, I would think of it as something very harmonious to the source, very high vibration, where we're operating at a very high level. There's no fear. There is no will in that statement. Now, will might have sparked that statement, and will, in this case for me, would be, I don't want to be alone anymore. I will that I have somebody to be with. But I don't make a demand as to who this person may be, and I don't sit there and focus on the negative that I don't want to be alone, because that would just create more aloneness. So I have this affirmation, and I know it's more than belief, although belief is also part of it, but I know that this person is there, and that we meet, and that we are together, and I can speak in present tense terms, because this reality is manifesting for me. And I can trust the source and just leave it to the source. Now, that feeling versus, I've struggled with this for a while, trying to figure out a way to put this into words, how I don't want to be alone, how I want somebody to be with. And one of the things I struggle with is, I have this list. In fact, I think I showed in one of these videos that I had all this list of qualities of my ideal mate, kind of a thing. And really what it comes down to is that isn't trust. It isn't trust of the source. And I think about the feeling, how I felt when I sit there and I think about, I don't want her to be this, and I don't want her to be that, and I don't want her to be this age, and I don't want her to be that age, and I don't want her to be this body type, or I don't want her to be, or I want her to have this, and I want her to have that, or any of this other kind of stuff. When I sit there and I specify, there's a different feeling. It's lower. It's not warmth. It's not positive. It's lower somehow. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. it doesn't feel anywhere as near as good as the affirmation that I just stated. I'm enjoying the company of the one sharing their life with me. There's just two different levels there. And a personal example, I remember one time I was staying at a friend's house, and there was one eligible female in the entire place, and as I have admitted, that I am somebody with a very healthy libido, so I wanted somebody to be in that room with me that night. So I was doing my thing, trying to picture and will in my mind that this person be with me that night. And no, they weren't with me that night, but it almost feels dirty to do that. And I think, if I recall correctly, I didn't feel very good doing that. It felt dirty. It felt sneaky. It felt, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like the polar opposite of the affirmation. So I think this is something you need to keep in mind when you're making your affirmations. An example she gives here in this book is this lady wanted this house, and was an acquaintance of hers had the house. And so she pictured herself living in that house, and she willed herself to have that house, and the person living in that house died. And apparently, not long after, her husband died, but she got the house. And I think that's what ties this all together right there. It's how you do it. I think will is maybe the reason why it's a problem, is maybe there's an element of fear there, an element of not trust, and you have to trust and know. You cannot have any element of not trust. You have to trust and know. And so her example is, this house or something similar. And whatever is mine by divine right. She has this divine right idea. I don't know how I feel or think about that, but basically leaving it up to the source, saying, hey, this is the house that I like. I like this house. It has the features, that I want. Maybe it's in the neighborhood I want. Whatever the case might be, I would like this house or something similar to it, whatever is mine by divine right. For me, I wouldn't say it that way. I would say it, maybe the best house for me. I think the house that I want is one that I have designed, possibly worked on and built myself in some capacity, maybe not the whole thing, but in my case it would be property. I would have to make sure that I don't will and demand a particular piece of property, that I open myself up. I say, hey, this is the kind of land I would like. This is kind of building area, kind of building site that I would need for this house that I have designed. And then leave it to the source and trust the source and know that the source will hook you up with that piece of land without you willing any particular certain one. That would be the same thing in my, going back to having a relationship example. If I saw a female, specific female, and regardless of whether she's with somebody or not, and I said, this is the one that I want, and I forced that to happen, well, that female may not be the one that is the best, most compatible to me. And maybe I cause us to be together, but that relationship then may not be the best relationship for either of us, because I'm not trusting the source to provide the one that is the most compatible, best for me. So hopefully that clarifies it for you. When you make your affirmations, I've said it before, that just kind of sketch out and then let the source fill in the details. Best way to put it, though, is don't demand. Leave it to the source, trust the source, know the source will provide the thing that you want or something similar, but don't try to will it to happen. And another element to keep in mind here is to go with the flow. If there's resistance to you getting this thing, if you have your affirmation or whatever towards something that you want to have or manifest or accomplish or whatever it is or be, and you feel any resistance at all, any resistance, if there's anything that happens that seems like it's resistance, that it's not flowing together smoothly, it's not working together smoothly, then stop and let it go and just leave it to the source. And I think that's all I wanted to say, and I hope that this helps you when you come up with, when you want to manifest certain things in your life. Keep these thoughts in mind. Thank you.